John sat down at the small table. He tried to put Joy in the seat beside him, but the little girl clung to him, so eventually he sat her on his lap and began to feed her the meal the cook had prepared. It was nothing fancy, just some soft fruits mashed together, but the girl seemed to really enjoy it, although she was messy, and John found himself covered in as much of the meal as she had eaten. "Ah, there you are. I heard someone had stolen my child and ran off with her. Never did I think it would be you, Master Snow." John worriedly turned to see Gerion's smiling face. "I'm sorry, my lord. It was just, she was. Papa." "Hello, my little angel. Coming to Papa." "No, Papa, Jon." "Jon?" "Jon," Joy emphatically said before Gerion smiled at them both, before he began to speak to John. "John, I'm not mad at you. Confused? Not mad? Care to explain?" "Of course, my lord. I was walking past the nursery and I heard a sound, and when I entered, Joy was alone and upset, so I sat with her, we played, and then the maid came back. I dismissed her and played some more with Joy before she got hungry and we came down here." "Why did you dismiss the maid, John?" She wasn't looking after Joy. My lord, I was there for a long while, and Joy was on her own when she came back. Joy didn't seem to want to be in her company, so I stayed and sent her away. I'll have that girl's job. She was supposed to look after my daughter, not abandon her." "My lord, please don't do that," I promised. "The girl should be reassigned. She can work elsewhere. Don't let her go." "Very well, John, but I'm doing this for you, not her." "Thank you, my lord." After finishing the rest of the meal with Gerion constantly calling John the best nurse, "It seems like my angel's ready for her sleep." "Master Snow, you must have worn her out. Just how many games were the two of you playing today?" Gerion asked, loving the redness on John's face. "I don't know, my lord. A lot." "Well, thank you, John. She seems happier than I've seen her in a long time." The two entered the room, and Gerion helped John put Joy to bed, kissing the little girl on the head as he laid her down. "Night, night, angel. Nini, papa. Nini, Jon. Night, night, Joy." "John, I want to thank you for today. You didn't need to do that, but you did, and I won't forget it." "I enjoyed myself, my lord. She's very precious." "Aye, that she is. My lord, if it's no bother, would it be okay if I visited her again?" "John, you don't have to." "No, my lord. I'd like to, if it's oak with you, that is." "Aye, lad, it's more than oak." "Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord." "No, lad, thank you. You have no idea what this means to me, but thank you. You have no idea what this means to me, but thank you all the same." John went to sleep tired that night. The little girl had worn him out, but he'd had so much fun, it made him think of his little sister back in Winterfell. Would he have been allowed to spend time with her, or would she, like Sansa, be taken away from him as soon as her mother or the scepter had noticed him? He resolved to spend as much time with Joy as he could. Like him, she was motherless and a bastard, although in her case her father seemed to only want what's best for her. Jaime sat at his desk listening to his uncle tell him about John spending his time with his niece. It reinforced everything he thought about the young man. After the first day Gerion had found him, John had made time to visit Joy daily. He played with her, read to her, took her for her meals. The little girl had even been taken around the castle by John, and the excitement on her face when anyone saw them together was something most people commented on. It had made John a lifelong friend of his uncle, more so because the boy did it not to curry favor, but because it made both his and the girl's days brighter. But they had important things to discuss, and as his uncle finished, they waited for Tyrion, Kevin, and John to arrive. Jaime had never seen the benefit of a page before, but having someone to send for people was something he found very useful, especially when that person was John. The boy was dutiful to a fault. Ask him to do something, and quicker than you could think he'd be off on whatever errand he'd sent him on. How the boy managed to fit as much into his days as he did was an enigma to Jaime. "My lord," John said, entering the room, Tyrion and Kevin beside him. "Uncle, brother, come sit. We have much to discuss. John wine, if you will." "Well, brother, what's so important?" "Indeed, my lord, I was just getting ready to ride to Lannisport," Kevin quickly added. Jaime had made Kevin overseer of Lannisport. It wasn't the equivalent of being Castellan of Casterly Rock, if anything. His uncle had more duties and responsibility. He had originally planned to leave Kevin as he was and have Tyrion oversee Lannisport. But if Tyrion was to be lord one day, then he needed to run the rock. After John poured the wine, he retreated behind Jaime, standing in his usual place at his right shoulder. Kevin, especially, had disagreed with this. But Jamie had held firm. This was how it would be, and he'd accept no arguments otherwise. Gentlemen, I intend for a tourney to be held in Lannisport in 4 moons' time, the largest tournament that we've ever held. A tournament? What's the damn use of a tournament? Kevin asked, irritation clear in his voice. This particular one is important. It's in memory of my father, Jamie said, noticing Kevin's expression immediately change. Oh, of course. I'll begin preparations immediately. We should endeavor to make sure everyone important attends. The king, the queen, all the lord paramounts, and the members of the great houses. It's what my brother deserves. Of course, Uncle. We'll need to spend a lot of money on this, both in prizes and in making sure it's the spectacle it needs to be, Jamie said before looking to Tyrion. Well, it wouldn't be a Lannister tournament without lots of gold now, would it? Tyrion said, before Geryon interjected. You know you won't be able to compete, my lord. I know, Uncle, I'm the host, but that's fine. My page will be competing for me. What? Jon said in a shocked voice from behind him. Oh, it's not like that. Jon, I intend to have a squires and pages tournament as part of the festivities, under 12s in a series of one-on-one duels. My lord, the boy is only 7 name days, his uncle Kevin said. And he already beats most of our young recruits, Kevin. Geryon said, a smile on his face. He watched as Jon stood there, the look on his face changing from shock to something else. He saw the pride that his uncle's words had instilled in him, but that was quickly replaced by a look of determination. Very well then, you all will need to work together on this, Jamie said before dismissing the others. Jon, a word please. Yes, my lord. This tournament is a big opportunity, Jon. You have 4 moons to train hard. I have faith in you, lad. But you'll be up against older boys, so there's no pressure on you. Just do your best, that's all I ask. I will, my lord. You can be certain of that. Lannisport, a few weeks later. As Tyrion looked out at the ground for the upcoming tournament, he felt a sense of pride. Jamie had practically given him full reign of the preparations, and he promised he wouldn't disappoint. He had brought Jon and a small escort with him to oversee the work. The tilt yard and the pavilions were both coming along really well, which only left the dueling arena to be completed. The idea behind it was a strange one to Tyrion. Usually there were melees. But Jamie had insisted on a separate space for duels. His brother was particularly excited for the squire duel that Jon would compete in. Tyrion had to admit the boy had talent, but to compete against older squires and wannabe knights was a bit too much to expect from a 7-name-day-old boy, even if Jamie had restricted it to 12 name days or below. But his brother insisted, and Tyrion could sense how important it was to him. So he drew up plans, and the arena itself would allow for an uninterrupted views down to the dueling square in the center. Well, Jon, what do you think? I've never seen anything like it. Tyrion is unbelievable. How have you managed to get so much done so quickly? Lots of gold. Jon, lots of gold. Is there much left to be done? It's mostly making sure that it looks good. The major work is nearly done. We need to organize stalls and places for food and drink, but most of the heavy lifting is done. The two walked, and Tyrion noticed the waves he and Jon got from the workers and the people of Lannisport. It was odd to him. He'd always been received politely to his face, but this was different. Ever since Jamie had come back, he'd been allowed to help improve the port. His uncle Kevin was in charge. He and Jon had been regular visitors to the town over the last few weeks, and word had spread about the young lord and his brother's page. As they headed towards the small tavern where they liked to eat, his cousin came rushing up to him. Lancel was an annoying little shit who Kevin had only named as his squire because Jamie had done so with Jon. Unlike Jon, thought Lancel had made no effort to learn and thought his position allowed him liberties, which it did not. Ah, Lancel, what brings you here? My father wishes to speak to you. The boy sneered at him. Well, it'll have to wait. My companions and I were just about to eat. Isn't that right, Jon? Perhaps we can meet with Lord Kevin first, my lord? At least the bastard knows his place, Lancel mockingly said. Careful, Lancel. Remember what my brother did to the last squire who spoke out of turn. Tyrion watched as the boys shuddered. An unlucky squire had been heard calling Jon and Joy bastards when they were walking around the castle. When Jamie heard, he personally took the boy outside for a spar. It was brutal, and since then no one had the nerve to speak that way where it could be overheard. Whatever, imp, the sneering boy said before leaving. What an idiot, Jon said as they walked into the tavern. After finishing their meal and after John paid for the meal of a couple of very grateful workers, they left and headed to Kevin's offices in the trade district of Lannisport. Tyrion was looking forward to getting back to the Rock, so hoped whatever his uncle wanted him for wasn't too time-consuming. The building that housed the Lannister offices was, as expected, large and imposing. His uncle's office itself was on the ground floor, which Tyrion was grateful for. They entered the building and made their way to the office. The guard knocked, and his uncle bid them enter, as usual. His uncle frowned, seeing Jon with him, but Jaime wouldn't accept him being sent away from meetings if he was around, and Tyrion felt likewise. He sat down, and Jon nodded to his uncle before moving to the wine and pouring Tyrion a glass. He then moved and stood over Tyrion's right shoulder, exactly as he always did with Jaime. "So, uncle, to what do I owe the pleasure?" "It's this damn tournament, Tyrion. Do you have any idea how much this is costing?" "I know exactly, uncle. Without prize money, we've spent 93,000 gold dragons. Jaime intends to spend another 150, sound in prizes and refreshments, so by the time we're finished, this will cost near enough 300,000. "Exactly. Tyrion almost 300 gold dragons for a damn tournament." "It's not a simple tournament, though, is it, uncle? It's father's memorial. My brother would never have approved these building works Jaime insists on." "No. Perhaps not, but Jaime is lord now, and his word is law." "No! You read it, Jon!" The boy looked at him, and Tyrion nodded. "Armor sales, 25,000. Horse rentals and stabling, 30,000. Port taxes, 55W0. License fees, 75W0. Nighttime entertainment, 50,000. Gambling and sundries, 50,000. Miscellaneous, 75,000, giving a grand total of 360,000 gold dragons. Miscellaneous, licenses, gambling, and nighttime activities, which are what exactly, by the way?" "I think young Jon her means brothels, uncle," Tyrion said, trying to keep from laughing both at the embarrassment of Jon's face and the annoyance on his uncle's. "How do we make money from brothels?" his uncle asked. "We charge them a business fee, the same as we do any other business in Lannisport. They're eager to pay it since we'll ensure, like any other business they're offered, the same protections. You will turn Lannisport into a refuge for whoremongers." "Uncle, that's exactly what a tournament is. Now, if that's all myself and my companions are keen to return to the Rock." "Yes, very well. I'll have Lancel show you out." "No, it's fine, uncle. We know the way. Come on." "Jon, let's go. I'm sure my cousin awaits the return of her favorite storyteller." Cersei sat in her wheelhouse, Joffrey sitting opposite. They had been traveling along the Gold Road for weeks, and she was tired of sleeping in the wheelhouse. But when asked to share the king's tents, she had said they weren't good enough for a queen, let alone a lioness like her. Thankfully, though they were nearing their first castle, and riders had been sent to inform them of their king's arrival. House Liddon was a proud and noble house, and one of her family's most leal bannermen, though the castle itself was more functional than luxurious Cersei would relish spending a night indoors. "My queen, we shall need to leave the wheelhouse to enter Deep Den," Sir Barristan said as he knocked on the door. "Surely not. Sir Barristan, how are we to get there?" "We need to ride off the Gold Road, my queen. The king's given orders to have your horse prepared." Cersei was apoplectic. This was a joke. What kind of savages didn't build their roads up to allow a wheelhouse to use it? Now she was expected to arrive by horse. Where was her litter? Was it not brought with them? Robert would hear of this, the indignity of it. She almost refused to leave the wheelhouse, but, in the end, necessity trumped pique, and she and Joffrey accompanied Sir Barristan to where the horsear were waiting. Her oaf of a husband sat on his destrier. Only a fool like him would ride a damn warhorse outside of battle. Her own grey mare was saddled, and Sir Barristan awaited permission to help her mount. "My queen." She nodded at the man, and he helped her up. She sat there side-saddle, a scowl on her face, and looked to see her husband smile. She wished to rip the damn thing off his face, but instead she just glowered at him, and they began to ride towards the castle. After a few minutes, which to Cersei felt like hours, they arrived. She allowed Sir Barristan to help her dismount, and together with Robert, the king's guards and their accompaniment, they walked to where the castle's residents were already down on one knee. "Deep Den is yours, your grace," Lord Lyman said to the king. "Rise, my lord. It's been a long journey, and we're in need of sustenance." "Of course, your grace, we have your rooms prepared, and there will be a feast tonight in your and her grace's honor." "Good. It's a fine castle you have here. My lord, wouldn't be easy to take in a siege." "No, your grace. Deep Den would not fall. I guarantee that." Good man," the king said before walking away. "Your Grace, it's a pleasure to see you again," Lord Lyman said as he bowed before her. "Indeed, Lord Lyman, it's good to see a leal Westerlands man. I was always loyal to your father, and now I swore my oath to your brother, your Grace. My family and myself remember those loyal to us, my lord, and we reward them." She watched as the older man's eyes lit up. Her father had taught her that men were easy to get on your side. Fear or reward usually did the trick, but as a woman she learned that there was another way to get what she wished from men. She nodded to the man and presented Joffrey as the crown prince he was before. Along with Sir Barristan and the ladies Lord Lyman motioned to, she headed to her rooms. The feast that night was extravagant and, as usual, lost on her oath of a husband. The food was plentiful, rich and sumptuous, and after eating food prepared on the road, a welcome respite, the wine she was served was of the very best quality. Her husband was carrying on in his usual manner, groping serving girls and swallowing drinks like they were water. The captain of Lord Lyman's guards had caught Cersei's attention, though, and she had flirted with the man most of the night. His muscular body and tight, dark hair stirred something in her, and she could feel the heat pooling at her core, but she tried her best to douse the flames. She was close. Within the week she would be home and he would be there. She squeezed her thighs together and remembered what it had been like, how they fit together, how they would once more, soon, Jaime, she thought as she drank her wine. Gregor. Olenna sat in comfortable silence at the high table. Her son was being his usual oafish self, and she could see the Strombo roll his eyes while his father, Lord Roland, simply nodded along to her son's buffoonery. Down at the lower tables, her grandchildren sat with the younger members of the castle's residents. Garland and Loras were entertaining the boys with tales of swords and the upcoming tournament. No doubt, but as usual, it was her granddaughter who was the center of attention. Marjorie had practically the whole table captivated. The boys, while listening to her grandsons, kept looking at her, and the girls had already started copying her mannerisms. No doubt by the time they returned to the castle, they'd be copying her hair, and how she dressed. Olenna thought and grinned. Allery was doing a good job of keeping Lady Crackhall engaged, and a part of Olenna felt bad that Willis had remained at Highgarden, but his injured leg didn't allow for comfortable traveling. Comfort had been sorely lacking on this journey. They had traveled the ocean road and stayed in tents. Luckily, the weather kept fine, but at her age, staying in tents was not something she'd recommend. Thankfully, they had decided to stay at Oakhart for a couple of days before moving on. "Grandmama, are you well?" Her granddaughter's voice pulled her from her contemplations. "Of course, my dear. Just a little tired. I shall probably head to bed soon." "If you're sure, Grandmama, I could come with you. We could read if you'd like." "No, my dear. Enjoy the feast. It'll be another moon until the next one. Just don't wear yourself out." She smiled at Marjorie as her granddaughter turned and headed back to the table. Olenna nodded to her guards, left and right, and bid good night to her host and her son and good daughter, citing age. She made her way to her quarters, glad of the chance to think in silence. The tourney was an interesting opportunity. She'd get the chance to get the measure of the strength of the new Lord of the Westerlands, and also a chance to begin her groundwork with the king. Her Marjorie would be queen. That was for certain, and it would start with this tournament. They left the next day. Traveling again was annoying, but the weather had held, and they would make good time. There was only one more major castle between them and Lannisport, but they would not be stopping there. There was no way on earth Olenna would have her family stay in the halls of Gregor Clegane's keep. Even traveling close to the castle gave her jitters, which is why she insisted on such a large escort. After a couple of weeks of traveling, the town of Lannisport was spotted in the distance. Olenna sighed and prepared herself. The Game of Thrones was about to begin. Jon sat at the edge of the bed, the little girl looking up at him expectantly as he began the story. In a faraway land, there lived a little princess whose name was Joy. "Joy!" the little girl exclaimed happily. "Yes, Joy. Her name was the same as yours." The little princess had a friend, a wolf which she called Jon. He smiled at her as they played the same game they always did. He had found when reading stories to Joy that while she liked them, she preferred the ones that she herself was in, so he had begun tailoring his stories. So the girl's name was always Joy. Once he did that, he found she always wanted the friend's name to be Jon. She could be quite insistent, so he gave in like he usually did where she was involved. Quickly spending time with the little girl had become as important to him as sparring or his lessons. He had missed it one day. as he had been late getting back from a trip to Lannisport with Tyrion, and the girl had sobbed, and it had taken him staying with her the whole of the next day to bring back her usual happy countenance. Joy and the wolf ran through the fields. "No! No!" he asked, smiling. "No. Ride wolfy like horsey," she giggled. "Fine, fine." Joy sat on the wolf's back as he ran through the fields. "Yoy!" She laughed loudly. Jon continued on with the story. The interruptions grew lesser and lesser, and finally he noticed the girl's eyes begin to close, so he got up and kissed her on the forehead. "Night, night, Joy!" "Nai ni yon." He left the room and walked down to his own, down the corridor, passing Jerian as he did so. She asleep. Yeah. She was tired out after today, still wanted her story though. "You spoil her, Jon. She deserves to be spoiled." "Aye, lad, that she does. Good night, Jerian." "You too, Jon." He entered his room. The tiredness hit him as soon as he sat down on the bed. Luckily, his duties would lessen over the next week with the tournament starting. Jaime wanted him to concentrate on that, so he wouldn't need to attend him as much, although would still be expected to do so formally. He looked to the training sword which leaned against the wall. Jaime had ordered it to specific requirements, and just looking at it confused Jon as much as it had when he'd handed it to him. The blade was more slender than normal. The hilt had been made to fit his hand. The measurements precise, and the comfort of holding it made it almost feel like an extension of his arm, swinging the blade. Jon noticed how much quicker it cut. Thorough the air. His swings were faster and his parries quicker when using it. His initial doubts had faded, and he looked forward to see how it would stack up when used in the duels. He took his clothes off and got into bed. Tomorrow was an important day, and he needed to be up early. Sure, he had met the king before, but tomorrow he'd be meeting the queen.